Okay. It is... Oh. We got some echo. Okay, folks. Happy Thanksgiving. From a Canadian, so I'm allowed to say Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Kind of in that realm, one of the things that I like to recommend to people is that they kind of start their own Shiny server. And I realize that I'm actually not that good at helping people with that, because a lot of the things that people do with Shiny servers, kind of private. So there's some fears of doxing and so on. So it's kind of one of those things where I think it's like with scraping, and I think this is kind of the same lines. I think the best guides for this, so there's quite a lot of guides to Shiny servers. There's lots of ways around that for sure, but I'm not that familiar with like videos on setting it up, so I figured I'd like to contribute kind of a tutorial video. And by tutorial video, if you're not familiar with the work I'm doing or what kind of tutorials I like to run, I basically just want to like kind of show you me going through this process, narrate the things that I think are interesting from the guides. They're not meant to be, it's not a polished presentation. I am not a professor or teacher or officially certified person in that realm, but I always figure that having like an experienced eye and kind of narrating what I think about tutorials is useful. So that's what the goal of today's stream will be. I think we're still waiting for... I want to give people a few more minutes to load in. I'm not sure who's here and who's not here yet. Feel free to say hi. I have some commands. So this is a README I put together on Sunday's stream, I think, or Saturday streams. And basically, I'm going to talk about, like, this is where my notes are going to live. I'll put any scripts that I save and run here. And they'll all live in the server. Any code that I run will live here. The YouTube link will come back to here. It lists basically what I'm hoping to achieve in terms of coding, things I'm going to talk about here, and talk about some previous work and other resources, including the resource that I'm going to use, which is Charles Bourdais, as well as Dina Talley's, which I think a lot more people have heard of. And Saskia Otto has a nice one on marine data science. I think this is the most recent of them, but they're all slightly different takes, because these two are for DigitalOcean. This one's 4 years newer than this one. This one's for AWS and was finished in, I think, 2019. So things change quite a bit back and forth. There's some other resources as well. In terms of DevOps for Data Science, which is a book that Alex Gold is currently in progress in terms of writing. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Docker and how you can use that to make DevOps more efficient and faster. I would recommend you look at that if you kind of looking at the next level of stuff. But for now, for me, I think I'm going to try to talk about kind of what the basic tutorial is. And so the target audience for my tutorial today is basically people who are like, okay, so I have 5 apps on ShinyApps.io, I want a 6th. Is ShinyApps.io the best tutorial, or like the best place for me to put my money? And so we'll kind of look at ShinyApps.io and talk about what they offer in terms of pricing. So most people start here, and I think it's a really great way to just get started. You know, if it's $0 a month, you get 25 active hours on 5 applications. That active hours limit basically limits how much people can use your app. So if you have 5 applications that take 5 minutes of active hours here meaning pretty sure any app that, like, anytime anyone's viewing it, So 25 active hours for an app that people spend, I don't know, 1 minute on. No, most people will spend probably like 5 to 10 minutes on an app maybe, and they might leave it on in the background, so that also counts as active hours. So basically, with only 25 active hours, if your app happens to go viral for whatever reason, you're sunk for the month. And so is jumping the next level of shinyapps.io the best possible option? In my view, it's not. 100 active hours, 25 applications, that's great. Those are both great things. I just, like, again, 100 active hours isn't that much, especially if you have 25 applications that get any sort of viewing. And this is also more than you'd pay for, this is more than the cost of getting started with various actual deployments. So if you're willing to take the time to configure your own server, there are some gains to using your own server. $100 a year, making sure that that's the same number. $8, yeah, so it's still you save $1, but in general I think you end up spending more or less $4 a month extra to get less application hours than shinyapps.io. So in my view, I think if you're willing to learn, and I think it broadens your overall kind of, I want to say value, but like your overall experience and your toolkit as a app developer, because you're here because you're writing Shiny apps, more or less. And so if you're going to be doing that, the next step is, how do I make my Shiny app useful if it's not deployed somewhere, right? And shinyapps.io is great for getting started. Really easy. You don't need to know anything about DevOps. But in my view, if you're going to turn out apps at any sort of volume, and this is where I was a little while ago, it's really useful to learn how to do your own, like, it's really useful to kind of start building up the knowledge of DevOps and deploying your apps. And I think you should. I always push people not to use shinyapps.io when they get to this step. I think that it's a valuable learning step to start thinking about servers and deploying them to servers. There are going to be better ways than even this. The methods I'm going to show you will still involve a server, or you could eventually get into serverless and containers. Those are all things that I'm going to kind of not touch in this stream beyond mentioning they exist. There are even more efficient and better ways to do the stuff I'm going to show you, but I think this is kind of a really useful first step for the person who's just started making Shiny apps to start getting into DevOps. So that's sort of the goal of this tutorial. If you've heard of RS Connect, it's basically shinyapps.io but on a professional level. Just to summarize, it's great for starting off, but better flexibility in having app deployment. Yes, yeah, essentially. I think you should understand how servers work. As soon as you start getting to putting money into it, I think it's worth also thinking about like how servers work and start deploying it to a server. And it also saves you $5 a month. If this is $9 a month, it should cost you something like $5 a month or less for a brand new server, for your own server that you can control. So RS Cloud will give you the RStudio VM that you can use. So RStudio Cloud, if you're not familiar with, is basically an RStudio server that's in the cloud. So you can use that as your remote development environment. If you're buying a $5 server, you can actually use it just like RS Connect. Yeah, more or less. $5 a month for... It's $100 hours spread across those 25 apps, as far as I know. It may not be, in which case that's more generous than I expected. But I definitely think it's split across the across all the apps. So, in my mind, I think I think the value proposition is definitely in starting your own server. RS Cloud, this is the other benefit of having your own server, and you can spend more or less on this. But if you spend like $10, you can have a bit more of a powerful machine on the cloud, and then install your own RStudio instance on it, and you'll get basically RS Cloud and shinyapps.io in one box. So your box can do more than just run apps. You basically have your own functioning computer that's in the cloud, which can be useful for things like scheduling scripts. If you want to do it on your server, you can. You could, but I mean, I think better than that now is using GitHub Actions, which also gives you a very generous amount of free stuff. The other half of this is that you can spin up and spin down machines as necessary in the cloud, so you don't have to be locked into $5 a month all the time if you don't want to. It can be very profitable to spin up an app, deploy it with whatever resources you need for the duration you need it, and then spin it down again. Whereas RStudio Connect, you may have more apps, less apps, whatever it is. It's kind of constrained by sending like on a per app basis. So that's sort of how I look at it. There's definitely value to abstracting the knowledge of deploying an app, but in my view, I think it's worth learning, especially experimenting for your own sake. And then it's not a substitute for a real DevOps team, so if there is one at your work, you're not replacing them, but it's useful to kind of understand what they're going to be doing with your app, and what needs to happen in order to deploy an app into production. So whether it's for Shiny apps or otherwise. So that's kind of the pros and cons briefly of what I think are the pros and cons in terms of what versus DigitalOcean versus shinyapps.io, RS Connect. That's sort of my opinion on it, and I still think it's worth it. You do love DO, but you love DO more than take your PayPal automatically than rather than doing it manually. Yes. They don't take credit card. I've never used DO personally. I use AWS primarily. So kind of talking about common cloud providers, DigitalOcean is a very common one among the VR community. Linode is another competitor that's very similar. And then there's like the big three, which is AWS, Google Cloud Platform, and Azure. The first three will actually give you some kind of free stuff, whereas DigitalOcean and Linode are kind of like not the big three, so they won't give you free tier things, but their pricing is more consistent and fair, and generally speaking, I think it's easier to it's easier and nicer to work with DigitalOcean and Linode. But AWS, so free stuff, AWS will give you 12 months from the day you sign up for AWS. They'll give you 12 months of free tier access to cloud machines as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. Google Cloud Platform has a always free tier of servers that they'll give you as their free tier offering, and Azure I think also gives you, like the AWS model gives you a certain amount of money that you can use to buy a server, like rent a server from them. So I'm going to use AWS today, primarily because that's A, what I'm most familiar with, B, it has a nice free tier, so if you're using this in the future and sign up, you can use the free tier for a year, and then once you've learned how to work with it, you can either move your server to DigitalOcean or pay for AWS, which is what I ended up doing. For what it's worth, I have a one app server that I'm paying something like $20 a month for, and that server is capable of serving, this is going to sound like a flex, but like 200,000 sessions in a month. Like, I have a Shiny app that gets that much hits. It's like 75,000 users, and the app seems fine. I wrote the app fairly bare bones minimally, but it that's sort of, if you're kind of getting a sense of what scale is like, I'm paying something like $20 a month and more than enough server for what I want. Also, if you're here and you are watching, not here, you don't have to be here, but if you're watching and you are a student, GitHub Student Development Program offers a whole bunch of free stuff that you should also immediately check out, because I wish I had known about this stuff when I was a student. including $100 of platform credit for DigitalOcean, so exactly what we're just talking about, but with DigitalOcean. While you're a student, you'll get all sorts of domain names. So Namecheap will give you a domain name, name.com will give you a domain name, Azure will give you free money with them. Ignore this one, don't touch that one, and we'll go on from there. Anyways, that exists, you should use it. Okay, so very briefly, I'm going to follow this tutorial more or less while I'm deploying this, and my goals will be to set up the server, make sure that it can be accessed from a domain. I'll install Shiny Server on it, or R and RStudio on it. I'll make sure that make sure the app works, basically. So I scratched together this app on stream Sunday. And it's a fantasy football app, so ignore what it actually says, but basically it does this calculation on your fantasy football league and returns potential points. So if it works correctly, it will print out a bunch of tables, and then you can download it and download the data. So there's this app, it does this thing, and then you can download this data. Cool. So we have an app. This is the one that we're going to use. You can use whatever app you want. It doesn't really matter. The important bits about this app are it uses these libraries, so we'll need to make sure that they're installed on the server. We'll talk about like how the server uses stuff in a bit. Oh, there's also a Shiny Server documentation configuration reference. This is useful. I'll make sure to add it to the resources. This is like the technical, like a guide for administrators. It's not a guide for beginners. It says right in the tutorial here. It'll also tell you what is available in Shiny Server Pro versus like open source Shiny Server. We're not going to touch Pro, but it does make a lot of things easier and more helpful. But this does exist if you get stuck and want to kind of go through them. But there's a lot of free guides here, which I'll work through this one, and we'll go through it. So we have an app. We have a domain. I bought a domain, a domain that I've been wanting for a while because it's short. Ironically, it's like one letter shorter than my normal domain, but tan.fyi is going to be the domain that we're going to work with today. Just costs some money. There's a bunch of domain DNS server places. I use Google Domains mostly, but Hover's kind of nice. So there's that, there's this, there's GoDaddy, there's name.com. None of them really matter. That really doesn't matter. And then AWS. So I also made a tutorial. I have trouble with these captchas sometimes, but apparently we got through okay this time. We're gonna log into this. If you don't have this, make an account. Blah blah blah. Okay, so this is, if you're in AWS, you can get started here. You type EC2, and you find basically virtual servers in the cloud. And so we're gonna get started with just launching an instance. Just making sure that the stream is still up. Sometimes I have to check before I lose it here. Okay, so we're gonna stick with free tier because I imagine that's what most people are gonna do. At least when they're first getting started. You can pick any set of this. Basically, will choose the operating system. I generally go for like Ubuntu latest long-term support. Long-term support, LTS, generally a better idea than like the latest bleeding edge Ubuntu, unless you're looking for a feature that's necessary, that needs the latest stuff. In most cases, this is probably fine. So we're going to select this one, and we'll pick the free tier. So what we're looking at here is basically how strong your computer is. So you'll need you know, CPUs. So the two things that you're buying most of the time are how many CPUs, so how many cores it has, and how much memory it has. Free tier gives you option, which is one CPU and one thing of memory, which we're just gonna take. I think my app server currently uses one of these ones. I think it's this one, D3 large. Thing. Okay. These things we can just get started with. There are some config things that happen here that you may need to, but I think that should be good. We're gonna add storage now. You get up to, I think, 30 gigabytes with free tier. Yeah, here. And then I'm just gonna bump this to 16. There's no real reason to use it all in one thing or not. Yeah. So one important thing, I guess you'll get to see my IP address, which, meh. Configure security group. So basically what this is going to do is you're going to configure the SSH access, and SSH is basically how you connect to this box. I'm going to choose to make it my IP. So we're going to make this my IP right now, and then basically continue onward with viewing and launching. So basically what this does is this is a firewall rule that will allow only my computer. So if you guys are watching and also try to connect to this box, you won't be able to do that because my IP is currently the only one that's firewalled open for this one. So we're going to go with that. Press launch. I'm going to create a new key pair. So what this does is it creates an SSH key. It adds an additional layer of security. So even if you get through to the box, you need to have this particular key. So your box will have the public key, and then you will have the private key, and then it will basically run a handshake to make sure that you are the person and you're authorized to access this box. These are kind of like the main security bits for most servers, in my mind. There's a lot more you can do to harden a server, but I think this is kind of like, in my mind, the bare minimum in terms of making sure that your server is secured. So we're going to name this key pair, I don't know, tan tutorial. And then we'll download this key pair. We're going to save this file, and it will be in my downloads, which is here. It's useful in a second, so we'll get there in a second. Launch instances. Okay, so we've launched. We're gonna go to the view instances here, and kind of see that this computer is still starting up. Any questions while I'm waiting there? I know that may have been dense, so. Okay, so largely we're still waiting for this to kind of boot itself up. So we'll kind of check this tutorial again. Key pair. Okay, so yeah, so we're gonna wait for this to load, which it's not loaded yet. So kind of a brief thing about boxes. IP addresses are actually like the address where you can access a website on the internet. All domain names are basically just aliases for these IP addresses that get resolved at a DNS name server. And then it will kind of redirect your request from your browser to this IP address. So if you happen to be doing this on an internal box, you can actually set up a local computer, like physically in your office or whatever, access it via the IP. It'll actually be this private IP because this is the public IP on the internet, but this will be the private IP. And if you still install your Shiny Apps server on it, you can actually run apps for your local, like, office, whatever, for you or for anyone on your team if you're doing this for work. And then from this box, basically, if you're on that internet address, you will, like, on that internet network, it will let you access the Shiny apps that are on that server. So we are still waiting for it to boot up. Okay. So while that's happening, I'm gonna start up Putty, which will let me access this box. We're gonna take this public IP DNS. You can actually use this one as well, I think, but same idea. We're gonna use port 222, which is the port that SSH is on, and then we're gonna go to authentication, and we're gonna browse to this. Wait a second. I think this is where you have to make a PEM key, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna load. So basically, what I just did was loaded Putty. I have Putty Gen, which is Putty Gen. That's this file here, and then we're gonna load the file that was given to us by AWS. We're gonna load it, and then we're gonna save the private key. You can put a password in here. It will make you use the password every time you log in. In this case, I'm gonna just not use it for now. Okay, and then on Windows, you go to Putty, which launched on this window here, and then we're gonna copy this stuff back in again. So we can copy this here, go to SSH, authentication. There's slightly different instructions for Mac and Linux, which have their built-in SSH keys. So I'm going to save this quickly as a tutorial in case we get kicked out of this for some reason. So I'm going to press save, and then I'll press open. Yes. Okay. So thanks, Daniel, for plugging my notes here. I think it's launched. At least I think it's launched. Yeah, it's running. Okay. And then I think we can get into this. I can't remember what the default username is. I think it's Ubuntu. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's Ubuntu. So when you log in here, Ubuntu. So now we have access to this box as a user. It does not have a password, I think. So you do sudo, I don't know, lest. Sudo basically means like do it as the root user. So we can switch to being root. So sudo su root will make you root, and then you'll notice that the user changes. You can use the primary Ubuntu thing that's created by this particular image, or you can use like your own username. There are instructions for that somewhere. Where did that go? Okay, so yeah, so you can use the Ubuntu user. That might be the easiest thing to do if you're just starting. Actually, no, you should probably make your own. I know Dean has an instructions on setting up a new user, which I'm going to borrow because I don't remember. Lisa, you know, a sudo or sudo? I don't know, sudo. Sudo. I pronounce it sudo because that's how I read it. Although it's short for super user do, so you could say sudo if you want. He has a nice handy thing called don't shoot yourself in the foot. I should remember these, but I actually don't do the user that very much. So we're going to do add user tan. And the reason why I'm doing this is that I want to make, this is also the login for your any future RStudio server that you put up. So we're going to add user tan, put a password in. These all don't matter, really. Sudo make me a sandwich. Poof, you're a sandwich. And then now that I've done that, we're gonna make this. So basically, we made a new user, and we're gonna give them root powers. So we're gonna do g password a tan sudo, and basically just made me a sudo user. And then we're gonna switch to sudo. So if you're already root and you type sudo, it doesn't really matter. You already do that. Su here means switch user. This is actually small. I don't know if I can change the font size. Oops. Okay, so here we go. Thank you. Special command, no. Change settings. Windows terminals are weird. This is Putty's terminal in specific. That's weird. I don't like that. Okay, hopefully more readable. It's ugly, but it's readable. I'll admit to like taking some shortcuts here, but anyways, that's fine. So, we've now got a user, so we're not shooting ourselves in the foot. And then we'll go back to this tutorial. I really should just remember add user. It's not that hard, but sometimes I mess it up. So, this is a little outdated. RStudio, or no, R12 has their own set of instructions, which basically can just be copied in. So we're going to run these. So sudo. So pro tip, if you're copying and pasting in terminal, Control C actually is like a kill command, and then Control V doesn't work in most putty or most command lines, at least as far as my experience with Linux and command line. So the instructions for copying and pasting are Control Insert and Shift Insert. Also, some of them have right click as paste, which is just kind of weird, but go with it. We're gonna update this. It'll ask for my password, which hopefully it's going to update the box. Maybe. If it works. Okay, so we're updating this thing. We're gonna do this. And then this is literally like, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much copying pasting. This is literally how I always install stuff, and most people will just find some script that they like and then copy and paste it. The terminal in RStudio also does that on Windows, yes. So like most people are familiar with Control C, Control V. I don't know if Command C and Command V are the same thing, where it like sends sig kill or sig interrupt, but it does do that. Okay, so we're gonna install R. I really should just switch to sudo, but better habits not to. Basically, I'm just copying and pasting these instructions in from here, and it will ask you. You can actually get it to skip asking most of the time, but we're just going to follow the instructions because it told us to. This is actually not super slow, but it's a nice little speed here, halfway. Installing R is usually the problem. Not a problem on Macs or Eclipse. Oh, yeah, it's a Windows problem. Windows not great. Control O Nano's weird because of Control O. It's never happened to me either. I actually like get lost in Vim a lot. This will install a bunch of stuff. So basically, if you're following this tutorial, this will always give you the latest version of R for, like, the current version of R for Ubuntu. So I would recommend using that over this particular command to install R. And then you can install Shiny. So installing Shiny. So basically, kind of a note here when you're going into packages, is that there's a couple users, Shiny and R and Tan, or sorry, Shiny, Ubuntu, and Tan have different package or different R libraries. So basically, R libraries, there's a couple different libraries, one of which is your personal, like, R library. So if you install if I share a machine with somebody and install a package, it will install primarily to my user. But for security reasons, there's actual benefits to doing this. The default of Shiny Server is that it'll set up its own Shiny user that will run, and so it won't have access to the libraries that are in Tan's personal libraries. So you want to always install packages to R's pseudo library. I call it pseudo library, but it's a system library, and that's accessible to everyone. So the easiest way to do that, in my mind, is actually to run sudo R, and this will give you an R console, which will automatically install to the correct place. And so if you're looking at this tutorial, same thing. You type sudo R, you run R in admin mode, and then you go from there. Do you need to save your apps as the Shiny user then? You can. You can actually serve your apps from not the Shiny user, and you can actually configure this. So the run as command of shinyconf will get there. Most of the time you won't touch this, but you can choose to run it as you. By default, it runs as Shiny. In general, you probably want it to run as Shiny because you may want to have because it will run as a separate user from you. There's actual value security wise in terms of having it separated from your user account, and also so I think there's value in that, and also I don't want to necessarily deploy every single app. Pretty sure. Anyways, you can change that, and then you can just install it to your local. But I think if you do any kind of development on the server, you may want to have those separated for stability reasons, essentially. So we're gonna install Shiny. This is not that different from anything else that you may do. Ooh, whole bunch of errors. Okay, so we're gonna say kill this and figure out what's going on. I'll type warnings. Non-zero exit status. A whole bunch of non-zero exit status. So we'll look at the first ones. Actually, we'll take a minor detour here and install the latest version of Pack. If you are new to the R Twitch community, we love us some Pack. And I haven't yet made a command, but I will do so immediately because we love us some Pack. So we're going to install Pack here. And then from there, we'll use pack. I know. I thought so initially. I thought it was Jesse's thing. That's the thing. Like I was like, oh, that's cool, but it's Jesse's thing. But apparently, people expect to be able to use that elsewhere. You still don't get the pack. It's just a fun meme. Basically, when you say pack, everyone shouts pack, and we love it. Okay, and pack is supposed to have. It does have this command, which I'm going to look for here, which is called package system requirements. What it does is it installs the dependencies. So basically what happened here, if you're kind of following along with this failure messages, it tried to install stuff, but some of the things were missing, like make and rlang and some other stuff wasn't working. So what we're going to do is we're going to install it with package system requirements. So we'll kind of run it natively, like without any other arguments other than just running Shiny. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to say, what does this need to make run? So you run this, and then you run execute equals true. And so basically it's going to execute this command for you. You can use this utility for any R package. So I'm just running Shiny here, but it's actually probably a good idea to also run this with like tidyverse, because I'm going to proceed to install that very shortly here as well. I believe it does, to be honest. If it works with Red Hat, it might work with oh, hang on, we got a list of supported operating system. It does not work with Arch. Apologies. But it does work with all the flavors of Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, Red Hat, OpenSUE. Yeah, that makes sense. And so basically it looks up the right command for your Linux distribution if available and supported within this. Apparently Arch has a really like a weird like bro culture or something, which is kind of weird, but anyways. We're going to install tidyverse and Shiny, so we're going to install packages, tidyverse, Shiny. Oops, I missed a C. I missed using pack. You do it all on your own. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Someone told me that I would eventually become a pack person, or not pack, Arch person. But anyways, this is no different than any other R package install. I prefer pack for the same reasons. It's going to install all of tidyverse and all of Shiny dependencies. It thinks in 3 minutes, which is kind of nice. Arch is the easiest way to have all your packages up to date all the time. Is that because it forces you to in order to work? Yeah, so this isn't that different from anything else that you may have done before. I really should have installed the rest of my package dependencies at the same time. Shiny widgets, BS for dash, dplyr, per, those are Arch. Sometimes it breaks itself. Lovely. Okay, so when this finishes in 5 seconds, maybe? Could not find... Oh, wait. I didn't... So basically, I installed the sudo stuff, but I didn't restart R. So in restarting R is literally just you exit out of this, and then you go back into R. And then it should mostly work. Back. Shiny widgets. BPS4 dash. DT. Waiter. Write Excel. tidyverse. It may need some system requirements that I haven't thought about yet, but we are going for these. Still no. Okay. Okay, that's kind of unhelpful. I thought R was supposed to ship with their own build tools. I haven't had this problem before. Maybe it's because of pack? It's very possible it's because of pack. Anyways. I really should save this code as well. So we're going to remember to do that now. Meh. Yeah, there's no make. Stop! How do you get this to stop? Okay, yeah. Execution halted. Oh, is it do I need to like mash this until it's done? Okay, that's new. Okay, so we have some dependencies to install. That's the long and the short of it. So we'll go back to this. We were able to get the dependencies, so package, system requirements. Okay. This totally worked like 30 seconds ago. Yeah. So we're gonna copy this code. Type that in there. Okay. That's weird. Okay, hang on. What broke? What was the first thing to break here? G++ command not found. What is a G++ command not found? G++ command not found. I didn't promise this perfect. I need the GCC compiler. Okay. I didn't promise a perfect thing, but I didn't anticipate having this kind of problem. So we will go back and see if there is a... Okay, hang on. So this installed rbase and rbase dev, and I wonder if this one only installed rbase. So I wonder if rbase dev would have installed it. Yeah. So rbase dev, if I had followed the actual tutorial instructions rather than going off script, rbase dev includes build essential, which is what Daniel is suggesting here, which is absolutely correct, and don't go off script. The tutorials were right. They're not exactly right. They need to have a different repository, but this would have installed the right thing, and then from there I would have been much happier. But thank you. I'm impressed that you knew that. Yeah, that's awesome. Daniel does cool work. I noticed there's a bunch of our people in the chat. Your Arch Linux tingles were sensing. I will shout out our streamers that I know of who are in chat at the moment while I wait for that to install. Oh, it's finished. Lots of our streamers in chat. Check out Daniel, who's been doing a ton of marathon R streams. Appreciate his bailing me out on a tutorial here. Not exactly a tutorial-y person. Okay, so we're back to this. So now if we go back and try to install this stuff, hopefully it should just work. We'll just install dplyr and purrr. BS4 dash. I think there was something else, but I forgot what it was. Right, Excel probably. Okay, there we go. So what we're seeing is that it's building stuff now, and hopefully in parallel. I'm just shouting out the rest of the people I know who are in chat. Saw Lisa in here earlier, who's been doing lots of cool Shiny app dev, which is really awesome. She writes a lot more JavaScript than I do as well, which is A, it's not a very hard benchmark to reach, but also B, she knows it way better than I do. So definitely lots to pick up there. Saw Alyssa here earlier, working a lot on public hockey data and domains. Tony was here. He likes to stream sometimes, but I think he's now streaming at 9 AM on Sundays, and does lots of cool, usually tiny model stuff, which I am not yet super confident at, so I try to catch that as much as I can. Apologies if I missed anyone else. I think I just kind of shot through here. So stream tomorrow for National Coming Out Day with tweet scraping and data viz. Platinum Junji, hello, welcome. We are watching Pack build stuff. So basically, we're getting to the point where every R streamer, every R person's familiar with, we're installing packages. There are some dependency things that are necessary, but if you had followed the instructions from the guide where you installed rbase dev, you would have been further ahead than me, got stuck on that, but thankfully we figured it out. So between that and Pack's package system requirements, you've got most of, if not all of, the execute things covered. So highly recommend do that. We are building. We are 17 of 67. This may be a minute or two. I have remembered that it takes a while to build everything. It is what it is. Tweet scraping and data viz. By tweet scraping you mean R-tweet, I'm assuming. That sounds fun. And National Coming Out Day. Is that tomorrow or is that today? I thought it was today? Yeah, I'm setting up my own Shiny server today. Okay, are we back? Hello? Hello? Are we back? Okay. Yeah, so what I was saying was, in the process of saying before OBS decided to crap out for no reason, is that we can use RSPM to make things go faster. What you're going to do is change the client OS to this source here. And we try to use binary packages, and then we can copy this link. So basically the important bits on this page, I'll make sure to link it later, change the client OS to match your client OS, change this to use binary packages. Binary packages are faster. And then we just saw how slow it was going, so we're going to try to set the repo options now, which is going to take options repos equals c grand equals this. Pretty sure that's how that works. And then we'll retry that install. No. Should really just run install packages here actually. So we're gonna try that. Okay, so now it's installing from here, so hopefully it's a whole bunch of binaries which will install much faster than building RCPP. Especially in cases where you have limited compute and memory, this is really important. So hopefully it is working. So I'll try to remember where I went off script for this tutorial. It should hopefully all work, but still installing. This is why we like pre-built containers with packages ready. Yes, fair. Facts. So even with binaries, it's still a little slow, but hopefully it doesn't take too long. RCPP on a server can be a little tricky, but it is part of what is required. Let me see if I can find RCPP here. RCPP Not sure. Usually what ends up happening with very free, like minimal free tier servers is you need to add swap space. Sometimes it will just work, other times it won't. But I think Dean mentions it in his tutorial here that you may need more space. Okay, so it's in the install R step, but you may need to add more space. And basically what this is doing is it will try to like add hard disk as memory, and what that's going to do is let you be able to install things like RCPP. I've forgotten working with small servers. Yeah. I had thought that you didn't need to build it, but some of them are from source, so wondering if I can... See, this is binary, so I had thought it was binaries already, but in this case it seems to be taking its time. I think it's type, packages, available, method, type. Yeah, I am setting up my own Shiny server, more or less. It's meant to be a tutorial, but apparently things are going off the rail, and it's deciding to be annoying. So I'm trying to fight with installing packages, which is kind of a representative example of what will happen most of the time, which is unfortunate. But how do I clear the library of pack? Let's see if I can clear that. Pack cleanup. If I can clear that, then I think I should be able to run pack, and we'll use binary pack pack cleanup. And then I should be able to use pack here. And it should, hopefully, just work. We'll see. Still all source. That's bad. You would have this kind of server that I'm setting up right now, and then you would primarily aim to have them put an IT, or sorry, so ways to deal with IT. Basically, you want to, if your team has DevOps and you want to be able to, if they're willing to deploy your app for you, you can pass them a container. And if your team does not have DevOps and aren't willing to deploy a Docker container for you, then you should set up a server like this, and then they can like use Nginx to kind of redirect to this site. Okay, so we'll try the swap space method first, and then we will go back here. So yeah, this is meant to be helpful. We'll see how it goes. So we're going to add swap space as per Dean's instructions, outside of the R console. So I'm on Windows, but I'm configuring an Ubuntu server, so they are slightly different. We're adding 1 GB of swap space, which apparently is enough. It probably is enough. And what that's going to do is basically double our available memory to 2 GB, more or less. I initially intended to do 2 GB, but you know, we'll kind of roll with it. Okay, so this should let us install Shiny, at least. And then from there, we'll try to install the other stuff slowly. I think it's worthwhile to understand what they do, and being able to like install it is worthwhile. Yeah, but yeah, like having a DevOps team, like don't ignore your DevOps team. You won't be able to replace them offhand. It's worth like doing right, if you will. Like, it's worth doing it right, and they are experts in their field. This is just kind of a taste of what they would have to do, and being able to maintain it will help you like work with DevOps teams, as well as work with like your own stuff and having like some experience in that field. Containers are even better, but you know, we'll get there, or you will get there eventually if you work through this. They changed MySQL to Latin 1 for all the Chinese language studies. Oh, that's fun. Not fun. Big sad. Okay. Anyways, we are still in package install land. We're just installing Shiny, but it does seem to be moving. RCPP. We hope that this works. We'll see. How do you get pack to do? So, the question I'm going to Google while I'm looking it up. But pack, how do you get pack to install binary sources? Package install, package sources. Okay. Standard packages. Yeah. Oh, we got around RCPP, which is good. Most of the rest is going to be... like, RCPP was the most painful, so adding memory helps. We do need to do that, more or less. Give me back control of my scroll. Okay, so it won't let me scroll up because... I don't know why. And I apologize if this is hard to read. I didn't really do any config of the colors or anything when I set this up. Because I actually don't normally do it this way. I normally do it the other way. Or do it through RStudio or something. Why did they change to Latin 1, or did they change it away from UTF? Yes, those are good questions. Is UTF, like, compatible with, like, Chinese language? I know Latin 1 isn't. But is that one... is UTF 8 not the standard now? For these things? I have a feeling it should be. There's like 3 different encodings for Chinese. I learned that the hard way to get Chinese subtitles for a movie. I am lucky that the other languages I know are French and Vietnamese, and I never have problems with that because they all use Latin characters. Kind of, you know, yay for French annexing Vietnam for a while. Appreciate that. Take it. The other character sets are in Latin 1. Ooh. I learned French because Canada, correct. I did French immersion in school and now speak like no French. Happy actual Thanksgiving. Thank you. I had food yesterday. I've been on intermittent fasting for a while, and didn't eat. Yes, I haven't eaten like today, but I don't eat till tomorrow. Kind of a weight loss effort on that front. But yesterday's food was delicious, and I made like ribeye and octopus and sushi, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I think there are pictures in Discord, but the food was really good. I had a great time. I also carved a pumpkin yesterday. We can also check out pumpkin pics because we are here and bored. Favorite Thanksgiving food? I do like turkey. I carved this pumpkin yesterday after Thanksgiving, so ooh, lion, yes, woo. Favorite Thanksgiving food? I think like I'll eat anything, but like turkey is my favorite. I think it's just it doesn't make sense to make turkey when it's like me and my parents and my mom doesn't eat meat, so we had steaks instead. It was delicious. Very excited. I also was a fiend for stuffing when I was younger. Did not eat stuffing because we weren't having turkey, so stuffing didn't really make sense. But yeah. HTTP UV. Pepperidge Stock Farms. Pepperidge Farms remembers, I think is the tagline. Anyways, so we're gonna put this. We're gonna try to install the rest of the dependencies. For R, but we'll move on to Shiny server. So we'll go here shortly thereafter and we'll follow the instructions. Which is basically just to copy this. Okay, we're almost there. Afton, hello! We're doing the shoutout thing because I am trying to remember to do it more often. But shout out to Afton, who does awesome art package dev and our projects and data analysis. Also, the resident R pun master. The Twitch community is absolutely, I don't know, we'll always remember the face palms from all of the puns. Okay, anyways, we're gonna move ahead with the rest of the tutorial, then I will come back and install more packages shortly. So basically you navigate to this page for Ubuntu server and then install stuff. The shortcut to installing Shiny stuff, if you see these command lines and you're comfortable with where they're coming from, you can copy and paste it. And so when you copy and paste this instruction into the server, it just works. Mostly. Did it do this? No? Okay, it only worked for the first one. So we'll do the same thing. This downloads the installer for the server, and then running the server is done with the sudo gdb command. Got it. Cool. So we set up the server. We're going to check out the server. So basically by default R will block, or by default Shiny Server will launch an app at port 3838. So in order to access that, you need to open that port for AWS. Other servers, you actually need to configure the firewall to turn on for everything except what you want. But in this case, we are going to need to open the security to allow us to access that. So inbound rules, we can access, so we can change this port. So if you do 338, and we'll allow just me to look at it, same thing. And then when we go to this server, we can access this public IP at the port 3838. So you can access a port from here, and then give it like a port number and access it there, and then you'll get to the Shiny server. So yay, we have a Shiny server. We don't have our markdown, so you won't see the our markdown stuff below. But yes, it's an app and it runs stuff, which is good. And so basically kind of basic firewalling. If you want to allow everybody to look at this app, you can change the security and allow everybody to access this port. We'll need to know that in a second here. But the idea is you edit the inbound rules, and then this 3838 you want to allow everybody to access, so you can say anywhere. Save, and then now I don't need to prove this to myself, but if you are proving it to someone else, you can actually access this IP and access the server that's configured here. So basically, security, AWS is kind of nice. It firewalls everything. So by default, you can't access anything without opening it. So you can open up this app and you should get to this page because it just allowed you through the firewall. Okay, so we have the basics of the app, and now we're going to need to put the app onto the server. It's alive! Great success. So we open this, so I knew how to do that already, which is nice. And then we will go to visit where the app is currently stored. So srv Shiny server. So if we go to that app, we can use cd, which is change directory, to srv Shiny server. And then if we list what's in here, we have a list of sample apps. So we have a basic page and then sample apps. So inside of this, we can access sample-apps list, and then it's got hello and then RMD. Actually, I think sample apps is what is being served. Maybe. Yeah. It works. Once it worked, once I figured out installing packages, which is always apparently the pain with R, and this sample apps hello I think also works, and it will access the app itself. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so basically the default way that Shiny Server works is that it will automatically serve everything that's inside srv/Shiny Server. You can change this, or you can use this as your primary working directory. What the way that Charles sets up tutorial is that he always wants you to symlink into this srv-shiny server to put a new app onto it, which I also largely do as well. So we'll go back to my home directory. So if you list this, you should see there's nothing in my home directory right now except a bunch of like config files. So what I want to do is I want to clone the app that I want to put up, which is it's in this repository here somewhere, but I don't remember which one it was. This one, I think. No, maybe. Wait. Yeah, it's this one. We're going to edit to get rid of the Tantastic package so I don't have to deal with GitHub. And we'll use dplyr and per. We're going to watch. These will need some installs again later, but we're just going to roll with it. Actually, it doesn't even need per. No per. Does it need dplyr? It does need dplyr. Okay, so we'll use just dplyr, and we'll save this. And clone this repository. So you're probably familiar with cloning an app. It's the same thing with servers. You may not do it this way because you don't do git in command line, but I generally just do this, git clone this thing, and then it will basically just download this app. So now you have a folder with an app's potential points in it. And inside you have app.r. So we'll do nano app.r, and that basically gives you access to this app, more or less. Okay, so we have some dependencies that I need to tackle. Like library write Excel, and we're gonna save this. So I just try and Control X to get out of that. Basically, just follow the instructions, save, enter, and then there. So we're gonna try to install the rest of the dependencies from this app. So again, sudo r. This time I'll try to make pack work again, or our studio package manager work again. So we'll first set this option, and then pack c dplyr shiny widgets. Shiny's already there, so we'll skip shiny because we know we just installed that. BS forward dash. I'll pass your bedtime. Yeah, no problem. Hopefully it's useful. And I'll have it on YouTube eventually. So yeah, I hope that helps. Have a great night. That is also the other part I should say. Okay, so it's gonna install all that stuff. I forgot write Excel, which is necessary, but hopefully it does a thing. And if not, it's gonna build all that stuff we need anyway. Okay, that actually wasn't too bad. We'll install... What did I miss? I missed write Excel earlier, I think. So we'll install that. And okay, so I think that's it. And then basically, in order to test this, we can actually run the app as sudo. So I shouldn't have left that, I guess, but we'll run sudo r. We'll go back to sudo r, and then we'll source, or we'll shiny app the app. So kind of a way to test before we actually test it, so that we can see the console. Basically, we'll run app. I think that should just run. Yeah, so that's going to run everything. And basically, it was able to load the package, but it wasn't able to open a browser because it doesn't know about any browsers at the moment, which is fine. So largely, we can see that if we run app for this file, it loaded the app okay. So we're going to close that out. And then we're going to follow, there's instructions here, I think, for symlinking the file that you want into a shortcut in SRV Shiny Server. And basically what that's going to do is you're going to copy this folder or create a link from Shiny Server into this folder and then put it there. So if you could do sudo lns I think that should do it. And then you go back to serve Shiny Server and list everything in here. It will kind of point to this app's dash potential points is pointing to this folder. So basically it's kind of like redirecting to this folder, but it behaves as if it was inside this serve Shiny Server. So you can, in theory, if I did this right, yeah, I think you can't use ... but you can use the tilde. Hey Phil. Yeah, you'll get to wanting to make an app eventually. You may want to skip through me having install pains. I'll make notes about where that was painful. Apps potential points, and it should load a different version of the app that I showed you earlier, but it's the same app. And if you run the example link, which I don't have there, but it's here, it should work. More or less. There. See? So that's the app. We were able to prove to ourselves that this app works. And it ran the thing that we were going to do. It gives you the same result as if you were running it here. So yay, we have a server. This is basically where most people get to pretty comfortably, I think. If you follow the tutorials exactly, you'll get to here for sure. There's some polish that I put on this apparently afterwards that didn't get pushed, but it's here. Okay, so we're gonna try to. So that more or less does our Shiny. You can install our studio on the server as well. We'll get to that in a second. But first, let's talk about Nginx and HTTPS. So right now, the app is being served at this IP address, which is kind of like naked, essentially, where every server has an IP address, and then it has a directory where you can actually look up the name, but look up the server by name. And so primarily everybody uses that instead. So in order to do that, we use Nginx, and we're going to set up Nginx to access this. So we've bought a domain name at Hover, which happens to be the way this tutorial works, and we can actually point the DNS at. So we're going to go to Hover and point the address to the IP, so that we can access that IP at this address. So we're going to go here, we're going to edit the A record. Star is kind of your wildcard address, and I'm going to change it to the IP. So you go here, you take your public IP, here and point it there. And we're going to do the same thing with this address. And we'll also add a www address. So www, oops, too many W's. There. And basically put that in there. And so basically all of these addresses should soon resolve to this IP. We'll see how fast it happened. tan.fyi. We'll check for the port 3838 instantly. Perfect. So now we have tan.fyi and we access the port 3838 from there. We're now accessing this page. I still don't have our markdown, which is why this app still doesn't launch, but we can access apps potential points and see this server. We're working on setting up a AWS server for Shiny and RStats development, but you can check out my notes here. And basically I'm putting up a tutorial to basically help people start their first Shiny server. Thanks for linking the notes. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so we've kind of set up the app. We've got a domain name. It points here. All traffic for web traffic comes in on two ports. One is 80, which is the standard port for HTTP. You can't change this. And then you also comes in on 443, which is for HTTPS. Most people use HTTPS where it's possible. And then HTTP, if it's not possible, we're going to set up some inbound rules to do that right now. So we're going to go into the inbound rules and basically allow people to access that. So there are some handy configs, or you can just use 80 here and allow anyone to access this, and 443 again, anywhere, access that. Press save the rules. Thanks for the follow, Gabriel Nakasuza. Welcome, welcome. And so now there was previously a page, I think, here. And if you go to this page now, it should allow you to access. It just won't have a page at this result. So it's going to time out. But the idea is the same. It should allow you, when you get here, to get to this page. We're going to install something called a web server. Nginx is kind of the most common one at the moment, I believe. The other one, I think, is Apache? I don't know. Something like that, pronunciation-wise. And so what we're going to do is set up a reverse proxy. This is a really great tutorial if you're understanding what a reverse proxy is and what Nginx does. But basically, your server is like a house with many doors, and your app lives behind one door in specific. So if you want to go to Shiny server, it lives at port 3838, and so you want to go to that door. If you have to go to 3838 specifically to do that. But what Nginx does, it says, okay, so everybody accesses port 80, and then there's a doorman. There's a nice little visual here, which then points your request to Shiny server and our studio server or whatever else lives on your server. So if it knows where to access that, it will redirect your request accordingly, basically. So we're going to run this tutorial here. So we're going to take this, install Nginx on this server. And it'll install a bunch of stuff, which we want. Cool. So first we're gonna do some configuration of Nginx. So we'll go to the server that he mentions. And then we'll create a configuration file just for Shiny the Shiny server. So what this is going to do is basically do the redirects for Shiny so that we can redirect the data, the information that comes in on tan.fyi to go to the Shiny server. You can add a prefix here if you want, and if you don't, it will. You can just use the bare domain, which is what I'm going to do now. So we're going to copy and paste this. Not there, here. We'll put it into sites available. Sites available, cd sites available. And we'll make a new file called, I don't know, it doesn't really matter what you call it, but just to be consistent, shiny.conf. Or sudo nano shiny.conf, rather. And we're going to paste in, again, shift insert is the paste command. It will let you paste the stuff that comes in here. And we're going to change the server name to tan.fyi, or whatever domain name you want. So this will do a bunch of changes for you. You can look up what these mean, but largely this means take anything that comes in at this server name, pass it to this port, and then redirect. So HTTP localhost will basically just redirect the host name to the localhost 3838, set some headers, security stuff, and yeah, so we're gonna do that, save the buffer, and then we'll run nginx test. Oh, he does an explanation here as well, so go with that. And then we'll copy the sites enabled. So we'll use the symlink command again, or the link command. So sudo lns, ln is link, s is symlink. So basically that's just the same like redirect thing that we used earlier on the apps. And then we'll copy, I think I need to type this out, I'm pretty sure, but okay, so we've copied that thing over, and then we'll run a sudo nginx test. So sudo nginx with -t will kind of test the config. We've got the connection upgrade variable has failed, so we need to go into nginx conf and add the following lines. So I'm going to copy this and then go to sudo nano nginx.conf, and we're going to add this block inside here. We'll add it down here-ish. Same idea, we'll put paste, we'll use the paste command. It's kind of a good idea to keep the indentation. And then we'll rerun the test again. And then we will start the server. So bam. Okay, so what that did was now, instead of accessing the app here, we should be able to fully get to tan.fyi as the base server, and we should be able to access tan.fyi/apps-potential points. If you wanted to change the nginx file so all the apps live under tan.fyi/apps, you change the nginx. So cd sites enabled. It actually doesn't really matter, but I guess it actually lives at sites available. We're gonna nano the shiny.conf. Oops, we're gonna sudo nano the shiny.conf. And then you see this location block? It's right now redirecting just the slash, but you what you're hoping for is for it to redirect location/apps. And then we should be able to, we'll rerun the sudo nginx test, and then restart nginx. So sudo systems control restart nginx. And that will kill this one, but if you access apps dash potential points, which is kind of a redundant name, but it should work. Hello? Huh. That didn't work. Oh yeah, it might need to be apps. There's a way to fix that, but this should have worked. So how do I fix that? There are some other commands. I think it's in Dean's that has this. He has this rewrite command that helps rewrite your command correctly, which I'm going to steal. Pop that in there. And then hopefully nope, that didn't work either. Okay, so then now we're playing Spot the Difference. What's the difference between the one Dean linked and the one I wanted? Localhost? I don't think it's this problem. It could be this 127-bit. Oh, wait. I didn't change this to apps. Hang on. Uh-oh. Okay, so hopefully this works. Maybe? I figure this should work, but maybe it needs to be this. Okay, so maybe this is the part you get stuck on? Yeah. I'm able to do it in another server, so I'm kind of confused as to why it's not working. But Let me get back to you on that one, maybe. I am able to do it, so... confused about why that didn't work. But, I'll come back to this. Okay, so we're still alive. Still have the server alive. I know it's possible, but I'm trying to remember how it's done. But anyways, okay. So, it should be as easy as that, but it's not. So we'll figure that out later. Okay, so we have that. We have the domain name. Now we want HTTPS. So what we want to do is use certbot to do that. So I like certbot. It handles most of the problems, most of the process of this. So you're gonna follow this instruction here. I think you just do that. We'll cd into our normal directory first, so it doesn't do anything to the nginx directory. And then it's gonna run snap. Okay, cool. That's fine. So okay, so we're gonna install certbot now. We're gonna install certbot. Okay, and then we'll prepare the certbot command, which basically just runs this, puts this into your user, and then we can run sudo certbot nginx. Uh-oh. The server is down for maintenance. How am I supposed to do a tutorial? What the heck, folks? Riot! Okay, so we're gonna check out this log file, and then we're gonna nano it. We're gonna sudo nano it. Okay, so we're reading the log file. The server's literally down for maintenance. What? What? Okay. Let's Encrypt says it is up? I don't know. Okay. We'll rerun that in a minute. Very unlucky, but it's literally down for maintenance. Okay, so in the last 10 minutes we can install an RStudio server so that you can access this. The other thing you can do, so basically now that we have this set of rules, we can get rid of the... not that one, don't touch that one. We can get rid of the exemption for this 3838 rule. So that basically, if you want an app, you always have to access it via the 8080 links. That doesn't change much in terms of security because it's still accessing the same thing, but it also means you're able to like authenticate a layer before that. So you can add like logins and stuff to your apps if you do it that way. Okay, so that's most of it. In theory, you should have an app by now, especially if you don't struggle with installing stuff like I did. I'm gonna try running one more time to see if doing it again helps, but and we'll actually check the status also. We had an active incident seconds ago. Service is disrupted. Well then. Literally not my fault, okay? Lol, that's hilarious. I do need a rip command. I need to steal that from you. That's gonna be funny. Okay, anyways. When that works, that will make that work. In the meantime, we can look at this RStudio thing and see what, or this Nginx thing and see how you can serve apps at apps. It could be as easy as this. cd etc Nginx. Sites available. Sudo system control restart Nginx. Oh. Well, would you look at that? Dean's thing works, Daniel. Just make it look like this. Use the 127 address, and apparently that works. I think it needs something weird. Yeah, check this out. So this should just work. Right. Minus the minute to load. This app just works. Until you can make it at that. I don't know why that particular Blackmagic thing worked and the other one didn't. My intuition says just throw it here. In practice, I don't know. Yeah, it's there. It doesn't work on your end. Oh, you can't get to here? I don't know. Should work. Unable to connect, not even... Wait, what? Really? How would I test that? Oh, Twitch, I think, does HTTPS. So you need to type out HTTP. Sorry. Try that. I would have HTTPS if Nginx was, or if Let's Encrypt wasn't down. Grumble. So angry. Okay. So further stuff. These tutorials are really good. Both Dean's and Charles are good. I like Dean's because I think it explains better. You can install your own RStudio. We can do that now. Go here. And then do the same thing. Install RStudio, yes. Go wild. One of the benefits of doing RStudio is, so cost benefit. One of the benefits of RStudio is that you can then interact with your server from RStudio. So we'll go back to You're going to go back and edit this file. I'm not going to cd to it this time. I'm just going to type out the whole file path. And it'll let me edit that. Nope. Not that one. This one, sites available. That, and then basically if we copy and paste this thing again, but this time we pass it our studio. Ooh, right, forgot. Nano doesn't like numpad, so don't use numpad with Nano. And then we type this in here. Sudo restart or system control. Nginx. When that works, you should be able to access tan.fyi/studio. Okay, that's weird. Did it not start? It's like it wants to be the right thing, but it's not the right thing. I don't know why. But in any case, that should have sudo systemctl restart our studio-server, and then we'll open port 8787 just to check. For just me, tan.fyi/8787. Oh, hello. Okay, so that lets you have a access to our studio server. We'll see the app that we just had here, the app file here, and you can actually interact with the server with this terminal as well when it loads, and run sudo commands, etc. So I often just interact with my server with the RStudio window, but I am also flippant, and it's all open source stuff that I work on. I wouldn't necessarily do an RStudio terminal on your main box, or at least on your app box, if you were going to do it and you were concerned about the security. This kind of opens up an interface where people can just access that, where you can't firewall by IP. Well, you probably could, but it's not the same as just doing it with EC2. And then basically what this does is it says, okay, so we are now accessing this as if it was an RStudio terminal, and I use this a lot for my like dev boxes. You may have seen me do this on stream before, but basically I just log on here, log into my server, and then install packages, do whatever. Yeah. If you're updating, I would develop the app on the computer, log on to the server. You could log on through this RStudio server interface, and then git pull this app. So if you're kind of maintaining this app, apps.potential points, what you could do is pull the changes here. Oops. Make some changes here. So let's say you wanted to like library write Excel, etc. We'll git status, git add .r. We'll include some CSS, because why not? Add CSS here, so git add dp.css, load. So basically the font's changed. That's all that changed there. Git commit m. Actually, we'll git add app.r dp.css. Git commit m. Some changes. Git push. And then when you get to the app here, you can interact with the app when you get inside. So apps.potential points, git pull, git checkout, and then git pull. And then when you press run app here, it will kind of source the file. So you can run this. This is your like development environment one, but it'll also, if you press run app here, it will also synchronize with the official version as well. So we should notice a new font, IBM Plex. I think that's the only thing that changed on the front end that you could tell. But that's the same idea. So that's how you would interact with it. That's how I would get to this. We can try certbot again. Sudo certbot nginx v. Yep, still down. Okay, so that's all I can do for today. But basically, with this tutorial and 2 hours, less than 2 hours, because you won't make the same mistakes as me. Crossing my fingers. You can set up your own server, install Shiny on it, install Shiny Server on it, install RStudio on it, add a domain name, and yeah, it's like a 2-hour process, more or less. Lots of more mess around with this. One of the important things with free tier servers, I'll make a note. I'll probably basically like debrief this session by saying that like most of the tutorial's good, but if you're doing free tier, you should make sure to add swap space and don't do the nginx. Don't do the Let's Encrypt tutorial that nginx or that Charles suggests. Just use certbot, it's way faster. So this one, I think, this tutorial like literally writes out like how to change this, so you get the certificate, and then you like manually change the files, more or less. So, anyways, that's it for today. Thanks for coming in. I'm sure somebody is streaming. Somebody else should be streaming somewhere. Who's still here? Anyone streaming? Anyone here who's going to be streaming in the next however many minutes? Rewatch the beginning and learn? Yeah, no problem. I spent a bunch of... So I want to revamp my notes. I'll try to gather all the links that I've kind of amassed here. I'm going to take this app down probably in a few weeks. I am on free tier, so it's not costing me money, so it can stay up for a bit. So if you want to see what's going on there, but you get all of that. I will probably I'll try to put chapter markers in to make sure to like not, so that you don't have to watch the whole Tan struggled with app like package installs. Nobody needs to see that. But basically I will kind of sum up the video. I'll do some editing so that nobody has to watch all that, and write some notes, and it should be up on YouTube in a few days. Hope that helps. I think everyone should have a Shiny server instead of paying for shinyapps.io. People may have different opinions, which I fully respect, but I think it's worthwhile learning as well. So, cute avalanches up. Yeah, but they do cats. I have to protest this. Is Alyssa supposed to do if I like cats? Yeah, okay. Is Alyssa supposed to be up here short? I feel like that she's on the Shiny Cow for now. Consulting the Shiny Cow, which also should live on a Shiny App server. But we'll kind of keep rolling here. You're about to go live? Okay, I will hang on for a few more minutes, and we will push everybody over to that stream. Okay, yeah, I think that's most of it. I will try to gather all these links, and add my commentary to it. But yeah, follow me on YouTube if you want to catch any of the links. YouTube is over here. And I try to make sure the office hours gets up within a week. There is more editing than I expected. I normally just ripping raw VODs all the way over, but I will try to add chapter markers on this one, trim it a bit, and make sure the notes are better. Okie dokie. Alyssa is up. So I will start the raid command. Raid. There. Okay, so we're gonna hop over there. Raid. We can use some emotes. Let's figure out some emotes that make sense. Oh, my dog is perfect. Yeah, we'll do that. Perfect. So we are all gonna raid spam with dogs and say hi to Frankie. And she is... Did she go up? I thought she was up. Was there a problem? Uh-oh. Okay, alright. So we're gonna raid now. And 3, 2, 1. Have a great night, everybody.